"You're not my wife." I said those words out loud today, and the entire palace fell into a silence so thick it could suffocate. They stared at me like I had committed a crime against tradition, against my bloodline, against every rule carved into these walls. But none of them understood the truth buried behind those 4 words. They thought I was denying responsibility. They thought I was rejecting another woman. But what they will never understand is that every time I speak those words, I'm speaking them to the world, never to you. Because in my heart, in my madness, in the darkest corners of my soul, you are the only woman who ever felt like she belonged beside me. They want me to stand in front of the kingdom with another woman draped in jewels, smiling like the perfect prince who follows every command. They want the illusion, the perfect heir, the obedient son. But how do I play pretend when every room I walk into feels empty without your shadow? How do I promise loyalty to someone whose voice doesn't echo in my chest? How do I stand at the altar with a stranger's hand in mine when my soul is still kneeling at your feet? I can't, and that's why the words escaped my mouth, because the truth always finds a way out, even when it burns. The ministers lectured me for hours, speaking of duty, alliances, honor. They spoke like love was a weakness, like attachment was a flaw, like wanting someone with your entire existence was something shameful. I listened to them with a calm expression, but inside I was screaming. They don't know what it feels like to be haunted by a heartbeat. They don't know what it means to crave a person so deeply that even their absence has a pulse. They don't know what it's like to look at another woman and feel nothing, absolutely nothing, because your heart has already chosen its ruler. I walked up that meeting with a single realization: this palace may carry my name, but it has never truly belonged to me. Every brick holds expectations, every chandelier holds judgment, every hallway whispers rules I was forced to follow. And yet, even surrounded by a kingdom that bows to me, I have never felt more powerless, except when it comes to you. You are the only thing I can't control, the only thing I can't command, the only truth I can't bury. And maybe that's why I want you more than anything else. I wonder if you know what you've done to me. Do you have any idea how your name crawls into my thoughts at the most inconvenient moments? How your memory makes my hands tighten, my jaw clench, my pulse race? Do you know how many times I've imagined you standing beside me where everyone expects another woman to be? Do you know how many nights I've closed my eyes and seen your face instead of the one they want me to call my queen? It's maddening, it's consuming, it's dangerous, but I won't apologize for it. So now the palace believes I've lost control. They think I'm rebelling. They think I'm choosing chaos over stability. They're whispering that I've become unfit, that I've forgotten my duty. Let them talk. Let them tremble. Let them fear the version of me that refuses to bend. Because if they think I've changed now, they haven't seen anything yet. For the first time in my life, I'm making choices for myself, not for a crown. And the first choice I made was simple: no one else will stand where only you belong. And maybe one day, when fate or madness leads you back into my path, I look you in the eyes and say those same words again, but this time with the very different meaning. You're not my wife yet. The palace believes it can decide for me. They think they can shape my future like they shaped the gold on my crown, bend it, mold it, force it into perfection. But every attempt they make only pushes me further from the life they want for me. I've grown tired of the puppet strings tied to my shoulders, of being treated like royalty is a cage I should be grateful for. If they had ever seen the way my heart shifts restlessly at the sound of your name, They would understand why I refuse to accept a life built on lies. They keep pushing another woman forward as if she can replace a storm with a candle. She smiles too perfectly, speaks too softly, and looks at me with the kind of practiced admiration that feels like poison. She is everything a queen should be: graceful, loyal, royal. And yet, I feel nothing when she's near. The distance between us is a canyon carved by every moment I ever spent with you. She may try to stand in your place, but she can never fill the silence you left behind. In the quiet hours of the night, when the palace sleeps and its expectations rest, I find myself thinking of you again. Not the polished version the world has created, but the real you. Your stubbornness, your defiance, your refusal to bow even when the whole world demands it. I remember your voice, the way it shook me without trying. I remember your eyes, the way they stripped away every layer of prince, heir, and ruler to expose the man underneath. I miss that more than I should, more than I can admit to anyone but the shadows. Every step I take through these corridors reminds me of how empty this kingdom feels without you in it. The walls echo with traditions older than my bloodline, but none of them hold a fragment of your presence. I catch myself imagining you walking beside me, your footsteps soft against the marble, your fingers brushing against mine as if claiming everything you were never allowed to touch. These fantasies are dangerous, intoxicating, and impossible to kill even when I try. Sometimes I wonder what you would say if you knew how much power you still hold over me. Would you laugh? Would you run? Would you deny it the way you always tried to deny your own feelings? Or would you simply stare at me with those unguarded eyes that once made me forget the weight of my title? I don't know. And the uncertainty drives me insane, because I have spent my entire life knowing exactly what would happen next, until you. The council is pressuring me to reconsider my words. They want me to apologize, to clarify, to reassure the kingdom that nothing is wrong. But something is wrong. Something has been wrong since the day you left and took the part of me that still felt alive. I won't pretend otherwise. I won't pretend loyalty to anyone else. They can try to push their version of reality onto me, but I will keep rejecting it until they understand I am not theirs to control. And no matter how deep the palace sinks into whispers, gossip, and doubt, I won't bend. They may not understand why I refuse to call another woman my wife, but they don't need to. The truth belongs only to me and to you, wherever you are. One day, whether by choice or fate, I know our paths will collide again. And when that day comes, no crown, no council, and no forced marriage will stand between us. The palace has begun to move against me in subtle ways. Hallway conversations that stop the moment I walk past. Servants who exchange nervous glances. Ministers who suddenly speak with far too much caution. They believe my defiance is a temporary flame, a reckless impulse I'll outgrow. But what they fail to understand is that this feeling, this loyalty, this obsession, they didn't create it, and they cannot extinguish it. It came from you, and anything born from you has already carved itself too deeply into me to ever fade. They whisper that I'm making a mistake by rejecting a future they built so carefully. They whisper that I'm blinded. They whisper that I'm ruining myself. But none of them know how ruin truly feels. You do. I do. And perhaps that's why I keep walking toward the destruction they fear. For in that destruction, I feel alive. I feel closer to the truth. I feel closer to you. Because loving you was never meant to be gentle. It was always meant to be a battle, a fire, a relentless force pulling me into a fate I can't resist. Some nights I walk to the balcony where the kingdom stretches endlessly beneath the stars. The cold air bites at my skin, but nothing numbs the burn inside me. I stare into the distance and wonder where you are. Are you thinking of me? Or are you trying to erase me? Are you fighting the memory or surrendering to it in secret? It terrifies me how easily you slip into my thoughts, how your absence is louder than the voices around me. I've ruled people my entire life, but I can't even control the way your name echoes inside my chest. The woman they want me to marry avoids me now, but not out of fear, out of humiliation. She knows I will never choose her, not even for the sake of peace. She stands in her jeweled gown like a beautifully crafted statue, perfect but hollow. I should feel guilt, perhaps even sympathy, but I don't, because my heart is not an artifact they get to auction for political advantage. It has already decided, already attached itself, already surrendered, and that surrender was to you alone. My advisors say I'm losing myself. Maybe they're right. Maybe each day that passes takes another piece of the prince I used to be. But what they call losing myself, I call finding the truth. And the truth is simple. I was never whole until I met you, and I have never been the same since you walked away. Everything before you feels dull, muted, meaningless. Everything after you feels sharper, louder, unbearably real. You awakened something in me that refuses to sleep again. I try to imagine your expression if you heard all of this. Would you believe me? Or would you accuse me of playing another royal game? You always challenged me, always questioned my sincerity, always pushed me to prove myself. And strangely, I miss that defiance. I miss the fire in your eyes when you argued with me. I miss the way you stood your ground, even when you were trembling. You had no idea how those moments made me fall for you even more dangerously each time. And despite everything, despite the palace's expectations, despite the kingdom's disbelief, despite the war slowly brewing in my own home, I remain certain of one thing: this story between us isn't finished. No matter how many walls rise between us, no matter how far you run, no matter how silent you become, fate will drag you back into my world. And when it does, the palace will have no choice but to watch as the ending rewrites itself, written in your name, not theirs. Every time I walk through the palace halls now, I can feel the tension tightening around me like an invisible rope. Servants lower their eyes, guards straighten their backs, advisors whisper behind closed doors, all of them wondering how far I will go, how much I will sacrifice, how badly I want to break the fate laid out for me. They think I am reckless. They think I am blinded by emotion. But the truth is simple. For the first time in my life, I am seeing everything clearly. I'm choosing not to live a life designed by people who never cared about the man behind the crown. My father has stopped speaking to me entirely. That silence is louder than any argument he could have thrown at me. It's a silence filled with disappointment, pressure, and centuries-old pride. But not once, not for a single heartbeat, has that silence made me regret standing my ground. He wants me to be the perfect heir, molded from tradition and duty, but my heart refuses to obey. It keeps dragging me back to memories I should have forgotten and feelings I should have buried long ago. Even now, I catch myself pausing in the places you once stood, as if your presence still lingers in the air. Your absence has a voice, loud, sharp, demanding. It fills the quiet moments of my day, reminding me of everything I tried to lock away. The palace feels different because of it, cold, rigid, like the world is holding its breath, waiting for me to make my next move. And maybe it should be afraid, because every decision I make now is driven not by duty, but by the unforgettable ghost of you. I know they expected me to move on easily, to simply replace you with a perfectly acceptable bride and continue the legacy. But they'll never understand that the heart doesn't follow royal instructions. It never bows, never signs treaties, never negotiates. It chooses, it claims, and once it has decided, once it has attached itself to someone with the fierce kind of devotion I carry, it refuses to let go, even if letting go would make life simpler, safer, easier. Even if I try to distance myself from what I feel, you still find your way into my thoughts. It happens in the smallest ways, an echo of your laughter brushing through my memory, a flash of your defiance when someone mentions your name, the sting of longing when I imagine how different everything could have been if you had stayed. The world may think I'm losing control, but I know exactly what I'm losing: the version of myself that was willing to be silent about you. The advisors say the palace is becoming unstable, that the nobles are dissatisfied, that the people expect a royal wedding soon. They talk about diplomacy, politics, alliances, as if all of it matters more than what I feel. I sit there listening to their endless speeches, wondering how they can speak of loyalty while trying to force my heart into the hands of a stranger. They don't understand that my greatest rebellion isn't against tradition. It's against the idea that I should live a life that doesn't belong to me. No matter how much pressure mounts around me, I won't surrender to their expectations. They can threaten me with political consequences, with damaged reputations, with unrest among the nobles. It won't change the truth burning inside me. I refuse to give a place in my life to someone who doesn't hold my heart. I refuse to pretend. I refuse to lie. And if the world sees that as weakness, then let them. Because loving you, even from a distance, even in silence, has made me stronger than any crown ever could.